Well, let's do this. Another episode of the Wellness Farmer podcast where we focus on your health. I take what has become too complex and help you by simply focusing on where health is found inside of you. How do we empower ourselves to feel our best? With chiropractic care, eating nutrient dense food grown on fertile soil without chemicals, adequate movement, and natural internal dialogue. On this podcast, I put emphasis on growing your own food and storing it using the permaculture and modern survivalism lifestyles. On today's episode 196, I discuss nutrition. And my thoughts, especially on nutrition for toddlers, for kids, for those little ones that are hopefully running around outside, playing in the mud and dirt, and not behind the screen watching something. Just real quick, bad posture and spine pain has jumped through the roof in the last decade. I can tell you that because I see it in the clinic. So if you got little ones, make sure they are running and playing outside. They will thank you now, and they will also thank you later on in life. All right, today is August 27th, 2018. I am Ben Page, your host, and this will be coming out a couple of days from now, but I'm actually talking today. So today is actually the 27th. Real quick, I'm going to talk about one simple thing, and then we're going to jump into what is the podcast. I have a YouTube channel, so I am Pastos Verdes Farm on YouTube. Go and subscribe because every other week, what I'm going to be doing is sharing how I am progressing, my failures, and everything that I'm doing in this super urban little teeny spot that I have to grow food, which is so small that it's almost all in planter boxes and a little piece of land that's between the street and the sidewalk. So it's not even at my house. I just kind of found this spot and I'm growing some food there, and it's under a tree, by the way. So that's all the things that are going against me. But I'm growing some of my food. So go watch that. I already shared the first episode. So the first episode, you can actually leave the link in the show notes here, or you can just go to YouTube and Pastos Verdes Farm and you'll find it. So hopefully you enjoy those, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of those new episodes that are going to be coming out once every 2 weeks, talking about everything that I am doing in, right now, fall garden, but we're almost in spring. And all you guys up in the northern hemisphere, well, you're about done with your garden, and now you're going into your fall garden. All right. And if you'd like to support me, if you are getting something out of this podcast, if you are actually feeling better because you listen to this and you want to give something back, go to patreon.com, and there's a way you can support me. So patreon.com, find my name, Pastos Verdes Farm, Benjamin Page, or just go to pastosverdesfarm.com, click on the link at the right side of the page. That's the Patreon button, and it'll take you straight to the page. All right. So what we eat is so important that I basically focus this whole podcast on just that. Of course, our health is more than just what we eat, and I do talk about that stuff every once in a while, but what we eat can be and is for many people probably one of the worst stresses that they are putting on their ecosystem of cells called the human body. It's that bad. That's why I am talking about growing your own food and consuming the food that you grow. So it is so important for us to eat nutrient-dense food grown on fertile soil, without chemicals, as established ecosystems. So us as adults, we're established ecosystems now. How much more important is what young children or toddlers are eating as ecosystems that are in development? I'll just let you know right now, it is much more important. The health of our kids' future has a lot to do with what we are feeding them today. And I'm being as serious as I can be in saying that it is so important that we try to give them the best food possible, and we know what that is because I've talked about it so many times. I was actually listening to James Chestnut once talk about this whole problem, and even before he said what he was going to say, he said, "Now don't laugh when I say this." So he looked out at the crowd and began to say something like this. He says, "So when we see a bag of potato chips at the table, a bag of chips that we bought and we see our kids eating them, and then our dog passes by and our kids are about to give them a chip, what's the first thing that usually comes out of our mouth? Don't give that dog a chip. It's not good for him. And then I remember, and then someone suddenly laughed in the crowd. But it's so true. We give our kids foods that we won't even give our dogs to eat. We give them food that our dogs are not even eating. In other words, we just need to say we give them poisons because that's what it is. It's slowly poisoning them, and it will affect their health in the future. It seems like the things are upside down. We should be giving, maybe not worrying so much about the dog and what it can eat. Of course, it's important. If we have pets, it's very important. But at the same time, our foods that we're giving our kids is so important. Dogs can basically eat anything and they'll be fine. I remember my dad's dog. He's got a dog named Prieto, a black German Shepherd. It's actually a beautiful dog. And it's the kindest dog, too. Unless it doesn't know you. But it's a super kind dog. And I remember one time when we were moving from Vegas to Paris, we were packing some stuff. Actually, no, we were taking stuff out of the storage container that we had rented, and I remember just looking back, and Prieto was actually chewing on a decomposing carcass of something. And I remember looking at it, not believing what he was just doing, and it was so gross. It actually made me dry heave seeing him chew into this carcass that was just completely rotten and almost dried out. It was nasty. Our dogs can basically eat anything and they'll be fine. So let's focus a little bit more on what our kids should be eating. All right, so how should we be feeding our children? So I think this is probably one of the most important questions we should be asking ourselves regarding the health of our children if we are parents. Not the only question, but one of them. And the answer is actually pretty simple, but difficult to implement, especially in today's world. So the answer is basically just like we feed ourselves, but only if we are feeding ourselves properly raised food grown on fertile soils without chemicals. So there isn't some crazy science to how we should be feeding our children. So if we're allowing junk to enter our ecosystems, well, then we need to change our eating habits also. So what I'm saying is that we don't need some special diet for our children. They need to eat exactly what we need to eat. So they need to eat fats, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. And to tell you the truth, probably more fats. So where do we get these foods? From the ecosystem from the ecosystem that we are actually a part of, not in control of, but a part of, Earth. So this consists, again, of fats, proteins, vitamins, and minerals from animals that eat a proper diet, and fats and proteins and vitamins and minerals from plants that come from a soil that is alive and that are grown without chemicals. And yes, even some seeds like grains. So if they're grown in a soil that is alive without chemicals. But I always recommend that if you're going to eat seed, you need to find a properly grown seed. And if you're going to grind it to make some type of bread or something like that, it should be stone mill ground, and only when you plan on using it. So it's as fresh as possible. And if you have the possibility, so I'm going way out here, I'm talking the best, you can also ferment it and make a sourdough bread. So that's probably one of the best ways to actually eat with flours, fermenting that flour. But I'll be the first to say that I don't fall in that category. I don't have a stone mill to grind, and I don't even have a way to really ferment the dough. I tried it once all by myself, and it didn't turn out that well. I guess I liked it. I think I put too much salt in it, though. But overall, no one else ate it. I think I was the only one that ate it. So that's what I recommend with grains. But one of the best examples that we have in our time that shows the huge difference in a modern food system and the opposite is the pictures of the kid's teeth taken by Weston A. Price while he was investigating the indigenous people all over the planet. Not just he investigated people all over the planet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a photo on my Instagram account, which will probably also be on the Facebook account. So I want you to check this photo out. It's a photo of an adolescent that ate like her ancestors ate on one side, and then on the other side, it's a picture of a kid that started eating a modern diet. So a lot more processed foods, and it'll blow your mind how the difference between their teeth and just their facial structure. It is incredible. These people, they don't brush their teeth. They don't have toothbrushes. They don't have dentists. And just look at the huge difference of these two kids, these two adolescents. And it's a picture that I'm going to share. It's a picture of an Australian Aborigine person. Because as he stated that they were the most primitive people that he had studied. So as he said, still living as if they were in the Stone Age. But at the same time, they were some of the healthiest people he found. I mean, what an example. And then we say these people are stuck in we're so advanced compared to these people. So what did the Australian Aborigines people eat? And all the other people he studied? They ate what was around them. That's it. They ate plants, so vegetables and fruits, animals, meat and other animal products, and some seed. To truly give our kids what they deserve to be able to develop to the best of their abilities is just that. You as a parent need to study what is natural to your area and cook using what is in your area. I wish I could tell exactly what to cook and how to do it, but for everybody listening all over the world, it's going to be completely different. It would be impossible to actually do that. So what you need to do is you actually need to just go study what grows naturally in your region and have fun making new recipes with your kids or looking up old recipes from your ancestors or others from your area in the world and live doing that. If I could just make one more suggestion about this is to actually up the fats your kids are eating. Yeah, you heard me right. Up the fats your kids are actually eating. Of course, good fats, not processed fat, not the trans fat. That's what I'm talking about. So what does that mean? That means you do not increase the amount of fast food they eat. That means when you find a farm near you that raises and butchers a pig the right way, you go and solicit bacon from that farmer. And when you cook that awesome bacon, you'd save the leftover fat and cook with that fat. You find ghee or butter from a cow that was properly raised, and you use that without shame when you are cooking for your kids. They're going to love you for it because everything's going to taste so much better and they're going to be more healthy. So you can put more avocados in their salads or however you and your kids eat them if that's part of where you're from. And to tell you the truth, if you can find an avocado, eat it anyway because it's going to be good for you. And also stop cooking with oils. Use them to flavor your salads, but cook with fats. That's two things that I think is very important. But we should be enjoying this moment. As you heard in my last episode, some of the happiest people in the world. So my last episode, I talked about a book, but I've actually talked about it before, but in a book called Solve for Happy by Mo Gadat, which is a really good book. I recommend it. But in that book, he also talks about the same thing, that some of the happiest people in the world are the ones that dedicate time to their families and friends. So they have no idea what a supposed successful person is. I put that between quotation marks because they do enough each day to meet their needs and then enjoy the rest with the people that are around them, family and friends. They spend time cooking their food, enjoying their foods that are much more healthy, of course, unless they find modern food. But usually, the happiest ones are not worried about modern food at all. So while we're kind of on the subject, not only can we second guess what success really means in terms of health and joy, let's also question what modern society says what is right. For example, what makes us more civilized when we eat with a fork? Who said or made it more civilized to eat with a fork? We need to ask ourselves these questions. Does that mean you are going to stop eating with a fork? No, because there's certainly a lot of foods that are a lot easier to eat with a fork or a spoon. But me personally, I usually eat meat that have bones in them with my hands. It's just so much more easier. It's just so much more practical. Does that make me uncivilized? Who cares? Yeah, a doctor just said that he eats meat that's on a bone with his hands. I mean, we need to start thinking and questioning all these things about modern society. So these aborigines, these people that lived the same way as their ancestors lived, were not more civilized than us in modern society in many ways, but they probably didn't even have a word for nutrition. I'm pretty sure they had no idea what their nutrition requirements even were. They didn't know how much vitamin C they needed. They didn't even know what vitamin C was. What they did know was what kind of plants around them they could eat, and if they got cut or injured while working or hunting, they knew what plants could actually help them. They knew what plants that were good for them. They knew what plants that were not good for them. But they had no idea how much calcium they needed or how much vitamin D they needed. They didn't even care about those things. So why in the world are we worrying so much about the amount of one nutrient we get? Does it even matter in the whole scheme of things? No, because if we don't have enough of another nutrient, the nutrient we are trying to increase or decrease can't even be assimilated properly. We're an ecosystem where things have to be in order, and only our body knows how to maintain things in order. We can't. We don't have to even try. We can't be the person in charge. Even though we love to be in charge, our bodies, we just can't. It's impossible. So we don't even need to try, because it's not going to happen. It's not possible. We have to eat what our bodies ask for. What do they ask for again? They ask for plants, vegetables and fruits, animals, so meat and other animal products, and some seed. And most of us don't even need to eat seeds. I'm just going to say it. Stop worrying about the nutrition requirements of your children and start looking for ways to give them properly raised meats and animal products and fruits and vegetables that are grown on fertile soil without chemicals. And pretty much, miraculously, your kids will have the perfect amount of each nutrient it needs at the moment that it needs it. Do I understand how it works? No. Does the smartest person on the planet know how our body of trillions of cells can do that? No, it just does. And that is what makes us so incredible as human beings. It's truly a miracle to just be alive. So what I'm saying is just cook more with your children. Cook outside more. Try new things. Try cooking with what is in season. Look what is in season in your region. Learn how to preserve foods so that when you can't get it, when it's in season, you have it in your pantry waiting for you. Fermenting, for example, is a great way to increase the nutrient content of your food. There's a reason why our ancestors did it. It's not because they needed food during the winter, of course they did, but it was an increase in overall nutrition during the winter when there wasn't as much sun outside, there wasn't as much movement, and there just wasn't enough time to truly be healthy like there is in the spring and the summer when we have the sun. We could be outside working and not working, having fun. So this brings me to what I always talk about. Health is simple. Is it easy to implement in today's world? No, not even close. Especially with the modern food system. Is it satisfying? Yes. It is even more satisfying when we see our kids strong and healthy. So what I say is, study what is natural in your region. For example, if you live in Ireland, open up Google or DuckDuckGo and type in food typical to Ireland. And then using the same search engine, find where properly raised meats and vegetables and fruits grown on fertile soil without chemicals are. So support those farmers. Get to know those farmers. Start a relationship with those farmers because their job is so important to you now. Their job is so important to you now. And of course, I can't end this episode without talking about one of the best ways to give your children the best possible nutrition: growing some of your own food. I'm not going to talk about how to grow it in this episode. What I will say is that the most nutritious food you can find is what is grown in your front yard or your backyard. So if you have a yard and it's full of grass, turn some of that into a garden. If you already have a garden, I am so happy for you. If you have some more space, grow it just a little bit more. So not only are you giving your family beyond nutrient-dense food, you're also teaching them great work ethics by letting them play in the dirt with you. I look at when I was a kid, and my work ethic that I have today is thanks to my grandpa and my dad teaching me how to work hard. And a lot of that teaching was done in the garden. I probably wouldn't, if at that moment in time, I probably wasn't the happiest kid when I did it. But now, who I am today, I am so grateful for that opportunity that it taught me how to work hard. And to tell you the truth, that would be an awesome episode just right there in itself. How we can teach our children many important things from the garden. So let me know. If you want something like that, I would love to talk about it, but only if you want to listen. So let me know in the comment section. Let me know on Instagram on that photo that I'm going to share. Let me know on Facebook. Let me know by email. Just let me know if you want me to talk about how we can teach our kids a lot of life lessons through the garden. So to sum it all up, we don't need to give something special to our kids. We need to feed them what their bodies ask for. It's exactly what our bodies are asking for. The only thing I could add is that we need to be feeding them more fats. Of course, besides trans fats, so stay away from that stuff. A lot less artificial fats and a lot more saturated, unsaturated, and natural trans fats. And if we do that and we eat in region and we learn to find ways to involve our kids in the cooking and the growing of our food, I don't see how our kids could not be raised with proper nutrition. And if we're giving them the proper nutrition, they're going to be healthy, they're going to be strong. At the same time, we're going to be healthy and we're going to be strong because we're going to be eating that same food, and we're all going to be living just a little bit better, one episode at a time. But don't stop there. If you like this episode, if you get something out of this episode, if you think someone can get something from this episode, share it with them. Share this episode with them so we can all learn together, so we can all become just a little bit better. And how do we do that? Of course, we're doing it one episode at a time. See ya